back to another episode of the Moz House podcast. I'm here with our current artist in residence, Jaleeca Yancy. Nice, I said it right. So, how are you feeling today?
Oh man, I'm feeling fantastic. It's been a nice, easy, and somber day. With the rain, it's raining outside. It's like 37 degrees. And it was a nice, productive day. So I'm feeling good. I'm feeling full. I just had lunch, a late lunch. And now we're talking. So I'm ready to get into this.
Random question. Are you a fan of the rain?
It depends, right? As I think the rain is therapeutic and it has so many different emotions that are tied to it, right? So it depends. If I'm working and I have stuff to do and it's just an inconvenience, I'm not a big fan of the rain. Mm-hmm. But if I'm chill and I can just observe it and just enjoy it for what it is, like a gift that is from Mother Earth, and then I love it. Yeah.
In my head, it's your enemy, especially since you have to dry stuff outside.
Yeah, but I kind of just went with it. I was like, well, it's all elemental. So, at least for my work.
The acid rain will give it an acid wash.
Yeah,
over there.
Exactly. Yeah. Right. The acid polluted rain will give it a nice wash. So, and it'll add to the alchemy of the pieces and the basic chemistry of all the dyes and everything like that. So
yeah, well, very interesting. I'm a huge fan of the rain. It's one of my favorites. Favorite things. My karaoke song is Feel the Rain, not Feel the Rain, Unwritten by Natasha Bedingfield, if you know that song. Yes.
Yeah.
So, and every time I think
That's
of
a
that,
good one,
I'm like, well, I need to feel the rain in my skin. So I'm like, well, I'm not putting my hood on right now. I'm just going to walk out. All right, so why don't you tell everyone a little bit about your art and what you do?
Okay. I am Jaleeca Yancy. I'm from Memphis, Tennessee, and I was raised a military kid, so I bopped around different places with my parents and siblings and to many different parts of the country, but also internationally too, and and so came back to the United States in about 2004, and from there I just was immersed in all sorts of types of art. So the first thing was theater for the local playhouse in Memphis, and it was kind of like a smaller theater. So once you got into a production, it was pretty much hands-on. I learned how to do more experimental theater with the sets, and that kind of piqued my interest because we were painting sets and figuring out making a tree a ladder, things like that you had to use the resources that were there. And that allowed me to pique an interest into fine art. At the time, I really didn't know what fine art was. I had a basic understanding of art. My mom was an interior designer, and my dad, he was just all around into music. He's a music guy. I had a brother who, I grew up watching him do b-boying and graffiti, and my sister, she's just creative and she's a hairstylist. So just always immersed in communal creativity somehow, right? And so I chose to really kind of buckle down a little bit, take a art class here or there in high school, but still pursue theater. And then graduating from high school, you have to figure out what you're going to do. And we only had two options in my family. It's either go to college or go to the military. And I was like, I do not want to go to the military, so I'm going to college. And, I applied for some art schools. I got accepted into some art schools, but the money was just not looking right. And so I decided to go to a small school called Lipscomb University in Nashville, Tennessee, where I majored in marketing and graphic design. Marketing was convinced to me by my parents that this is probably the best route, just in case. You never know, like, what life is going to throw at you, and it will be good knowledge to have, right, as far as like knowing business. And then the graphic design part was like totally me. I was like, well, I'm going to do some type of art. And so I did that, graduated early, worked corporate and as an in-house designer, graphic designer, for like startups and different companies, smaller companies. Then decided that I was going to really pursue my own graphic design business. So I opened up JRY Designs. And that's what I go by pretty much for everything outside of like my name. And so, yeah, I did that and just started working gigs that allowed me to focus on my creative spirit and my creative energy and tap into art making as much as possible, right? Like, I was living the life of an adult now, so it's like only so much you can actually do with having certain types of jobs, right? So, yeah, so did that for a while, kind of gave up for a second because it was just a lot. Sometimes clients are just a lot, so.
Yeah, they're the worst.
Yeah.
The absolute worst people.
I mean, all my clients are fantastic, much love to y'all if you're listening, but you come across people who are just like not
pleasant to work with.
Yeah.
Everyone I ever worked for has been great, but usually don't end up actually doing anything for people who are really annoying.
Yeah.
Or once it happens one time, you just get a sour taste in your mouth, honestly.
Yeah, and I kind of got a sour taste in my mouth about doing graphic design seriously, like as a full-time job, and even owning my own business. Like, I was slowly not taking as many clients as I was starting out. So I think I needed like a thrust into wanting to do my fine art again. And I think that's where the problem was lying, is that I wasn't really doing what I wanted to do. I was kind of like doing graphic design because it was what was necessary in a sense. But also like kind of meeting my like creative needs, but not really, right? Like, I'm more of a tangible person. Like, I like to feel and touch my canvases and the work that I work on. And so I decided to move to New York in 2005. And from there, I just hit the ground running. I started painting, I started drawing, I started sketching. I would be on the subway trains, drawing people on the subway train, drawing shapes and forms that I see, going to museums, just immersing myself in the arts culture. And that really was in Harlem at the time when I moved there. And so going to Harlem, participating in Hang Night at Heath Gallery, getting critiques back from peers, and just vending my art, trying to just get everybody to see what I'm doing, like what my voice is and what my art is looking like, right? And it was very figurative heavy at the time, back in 2005, because I loved illustration work and I loved figurative work, and I still do, but I just don't think it captures my essence anymore. And so I think like around 2018, I started taking abstract expressionism a little bit more serious and exploring that realm of art too. And what does that look like? Mainly with charcoal, experimental inks and mixed media and collaging and everything, paint pens and all that good stuff, and working on murals and things like that. So I really decided that it's like, okay, like the art is happening. Like, I'm doing pretty well. People want to see my art, getting some more opportunities that are like leveling up my resume, my artist CV. And I decided that, like, if I really want to do this, I need to like really sit down and start applying for things and trying to push myself into more like formal gallery spaces, and not vending as much for the art, but like for my actual business, so like separating the two for JRY Design. So then JRY Designs became an art studio and design studio.
Oh, it came back.
Yeah, I came
back
back
better than ever.
Came back better than ever and started taking clients and realized that I love doing illustrations for clients and I enjoy doing logos for clients. And then outside of that, I don't help you out. I'm sorry. Don't ask me.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. So, and I'm a freelancer. So I do a vast amount of freelance gigs and that, keep a roof over my head and feed me, and allow me to invest in my art. But at the same time, it's like all centered around arts and culture somehow, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm not diverging away from the many different dimensions that art has, right? I'm still learning from creatives in some sense of work atmospheres. So yeah.
I have a few questions about that.
Okay.
About what we just said. So you mentioned it right at the beginning when we started talking. You said you came back to the United States. Where were you before? Like, where did you guys go?
My dad was stationed in Okinawa, Japan. So we lived there I lived there from 9 until about 14, 15 years old. And that was a harsh, I was a little bit more, my world was flipped upside down. Like, I didn't know American, customs. Even though I was raised on a military base, I went to school off base. Most of my friends were either a mix of, military kids and Japanese, Okinawan kids, and coming back to, the rural Memphis kind of urban city was a lot. I didn't have the accent. People made fun of me for it, and I just had to transmute through a lot of different things. I was being reintroduced back to America. Even though I was in American society overseas, it is a different way of living, right? Independence was kind of taken away from me as much, I was a kid who played outside. That's all I knew. And I was still kind of a kid, but growing into a teenager. But now I have to rely on my parents to take me to my extracurricular activities where I could have, in Okinawa, rode my bike, if I wanted to go hang out with friends, I could take a taxi by myself and go to the different parts of downtown Okinawa and hang out with them. And my parents weren't concerned, but there's a bigger concern as a Black young girl in the United States. It's the whole thing's changed, and I was like, I don't get it, and I felt alone. I felt I just didn't. I needed art, and so I found avenues to express myself. And
that's so interesting. What an interesting upbringing, being in Japan for half your life at that point. Then, did you speak Japanese when you were there?
Skoshi, just a little bit. Just a little bit. It just means a little.
Oh, Skoshi.
Skoshi.
Honestly,
Skoshi Japanese.
I was so uncultured there for saying. I thought that was another language. No. I was like, Skoshi. I never even heard of that before. Where is it? That must be some type of dialect. I had no idea. Jeez.
But yeah, no, I mean, I lost a lot of it. I'm trying to pick it back up. Me and language is, I gotta give myself patience with language. I feel like my mind is going so many different ways. I really just want to find time to hone in on a few languages, but Japanese, I want to pick that back up for sure.
I am really bad at different new languages to me. I just can't do it.
Yeah.
I think it's something to do with my ears. Well, my ears are messed up, but when I hear people talk a different language, and I'm trying to learn it, if I'm using one of those apps and it's says bonjour. Mm-hmm. I'm not hearing it right. So then I will say it I hear it, and I remember being in school, they'd be those language exams, you get to actually speak the language. Mm-hmm. I would just be butchering the entire thing because that's what I heard how I was supposed to say it, but no. I would like to learn how to speak French again. Not again, but actual, because I'm part French. Yeah. My dad's side. Yeah. It would be nice to learn another language.
Yeah, especially if it's connected to you. Why not, right?
I had to, for the current exhibit we have up there in the Tom's Indian School, there are so many native words on there, and I had to spend at least an hour just I was like having I had problems with everyone's names and everything just because I'm just like, well, I don't want to mess it up. I spent so long just saying the words over and over and over again, and it was just like 5 of them. Yeah. And I was like, and then I look it up, called my Anthony, so I was like, am I saying this right? And I was in the end, but it's just, I just know that's my weakness, so I have to be careful.
Well, with the pronunciations, especially in different languages, like, it can be a tongue twister sometimes. But, Trevor Noah had said once on The Daily Show that someone had asked him in the crowd, like, hey, like, how do you learn languages so quickly? And he was just like, I mimic their pronunciations. Like, he mimics what they sound like, and then that allows him to connect to like the actual language.
Oh, that's interesting.
So like, I'm trying to take that approach now. So I've been watching more Japanese TV and like trying to watch more like Japanese like documentaries, as well as trying to learn Spanish and trying to do the same thing, right? Like learn about the Spanish, Latinx, Latino, Hispanic artists that I've always been inspired by, but I didn't really know the language and wasn't connected to it. So I didn't, pick up on the language too well. So now that I'm just trying to immerse in the things that I love. Like if I love art and arts and culture and theater and things like that, film and TV, then I think that will be an easier way for me to do it versus doing like some app that I'm probably going to do for like the first 2 weeks and then forget about it and end up deleting it anyway.
Trevor Noah actually did a segment on like us recently, not on Ma's house, but those huge billboards that are on the way here. Those I guess they're kind of like advertisements. It has our seal on the top, and people were very upset about that.
Really?
People were like, they were like protests, and all the white people got really mad because we were ruining their beautiful landscape.
When are they not mad?
I don't know.
Sorry for any people that are listening to this that are white, but like,
if you're mad at it, if you're mad with those billboards, I don't feel bad about what I said.
It's
but
it's freedom of speech.
Yeah, but Trevor, they were so upset that it made. Somehow he found out about it. Yeah, came by, filmed a segment at the we call them the monuments, and then bought an ad on there too. It was some joke. What was it? It was like enjoy your vacation on stolen land or something. Yeah, so everyone had to see it during the summer.
Let's go! Shout out to Trevor Noah. Yeah. Put us on. I mean, I know you're not on the show anymore, but plug us. We're talking about you. You're inspired. Yeah. You're inspiring. You were inspired by you.
So without you, who knows what would have happened? More people would have been mad. I think that helped. The comedy definitely is good to like make people realize how dumb they're being.
Yeah, I mean that's comedy in the truest sense is tragedy. So it's supposed to be pointing out like the woes of the world, right? Mm-hmm. So when someone has the intellect to really tap into like what the woes of the world are on a cultural like level outside of their own cultures, I think that's important. So.
I agree.
Open people's eyes. Yeah. Why not?
What was it? Oh, yeah. So, how did you discover Ma's house?
Oh, man. So, I think, let's see, 2020 happened, things slowed down, and I think I was looking for opportunities to, like, tap into, like, the New York State, like, art programs and residencies and stuff. And I had time on my hands, so I was just like researching everything and following everything on Instagram, and then I think it really popped up to me like the summer of 2021, and I had seen, I believe, like it was an ad saying like Ma's House Residency, for BIPOC, communities, and apply now. And I didn't I did it because I was like, I don't know if I'll get it, but at that time I was still working on my confidence as far as like just applying and pray for the best. And so I really started taking applications seriously in 2021 after the Moss House, like, I guess it was filled up. So I was like, oh, I guess I'm not even going to do an application. I'll wait until there's another announcement to apply, right? And so there was another announcement last year, 2022, towards like October, when DeMarcus was here for his residency. And I guess when he got back to the city, he was like, yo, and I was finishing up my own residency on Governor's Island, which he was a part of the year before that. So, it's a part of community, which, is Moss House too. It's like, hey, there's an opportunity. I had a great time. I think you should try it. So he reached out to me on IG and was like, hey, you should apply, like, reach out to Jeremy. And he gave me Jeremy's email. And I did, and he was like, you got to fill out the application. I was like, okay. I was like, okay. And it took me a second because I had some gigs. And so I finally applied like at the end of December, early January or something like that. And then not even a week later, Jeremy's like, hey, should we hop on a Zoom and, have a conversation? And I was like, yeah. And then in the Zoom meeting, he's like, yeah, so when I saw that you can do like winter, spring, like what's your availability? I was like, January's free. He was like, oh, what about these dates for January? I was like, oh, yes, let's do it. And then I was here the next few days.
Sounds easy peasy. It's gone in.
You gotta trust in like your abilities, and trust that like, that God got you, God, spirit, the ancestors, the universe, anything that you believe in got you, right? Like, put all your faith in that and know like the hard work that you're doing will pay off. And so that's what I just ended up doing, and it totally transmuted my whole art experience, and has allowed me to tap into like new opportunities that will get my work seen and continue to grow my practice.
How did you get so much into alchemy? You use a lot of alchemy words.
I do.
It seems to be a big part of your practice.
It is a big part of my practice. I think that, so I had a friend, let's backtrack. 2020, pandemic happened, and everyone was looking for a hobby. And, and I kind of didn't get into it as like a pandemic hobby. I want to, say that so people don't think, oh, that's why you got into it. So I'm just leading that from there. Okay, so I buy an RV in like the late summer, early fall of 2020 from the stimulus money. Shout out to the government. They should have extended that, but I digress. And I was like, yo, this will be a return on my investment if I end up like selling the RV. So I tried to flip it to the best of my ability. And I traveled the Northeast all the way down to Tennessee and then back home to Memphis. And I lived in Memphis for like 6 months almost in the RV, going to like different state parks and living with my grandma when it was too cold to stay in the RV. Yeah. And in that time, I was a full-on vegan, and I went to the farmer's market, and I would get my, produce and vegetables and everything there. And this farmer's market is not big, but it's decent, right? So I met a farmer, and he's a aquaponics farmer.
A what?
Aquaponics. Now, I'll explain it in a second. Aquaponics farmer, and he had the best lettuce. Like, lettuce that you ever had, herbs that you ever had. His dill was out of this world. And then sometimes, like, he would have strawberries if they were successful, right? So we got to chit-chatting, and I had mentioned that I was an artist. He was like, hey, you should come by the farm. Just in general, just come by the farm. And we started talking. I did the tour of the aquaponics farm. So aquaponics is like a greenhouse full of that uses fish as nutrient, like fish poop basically as nutrients to grow the plants, basically. That's like in lamest terms, okay? But water, fish, and lighting, basically, all combined to like make this grow house. No soil at all. All water and fish and like these rocks that help, collect the, nutrients into the water. But that's no soil. It's really cool. You should look into it.
Yeah.
Aquaponics. And so he has this huge space and he's talking. He's like, yeah. And then he shows me this room and he was like, yeah, so like, where are you doing your art? I said, I just do it in my RV. He's like, that's not enough space. I have space here. Like, let's work out something. So we did a trading system where I helped him out with some of his social media marketing. In return, he gave me space. And after a few months, it ended up just being like, I could use the space. And I had a friend at the time who was traveling. And I should actually say acquaintance, but we're familiar with each other. They own a store called 28 Scott's. Anyone listening, go to Brooklyn off the L train, Jefferson stop. 28 Scott is the best vintage store in the area and probably in Brooklyn. But she's a buyer, and so she goes around the world basically to purchase some of the things that are in her store. And because it was still like pandemic, a lot of these stores were not open to the public, so they were doing their selling online on Instagram. So I would buy a piece or here and there from them, and they had said that they were in Morocco, and they were like, if you need anything, let me know. And I was like, hey, can you see if they actually have pigments? And at the time I knew like of natural pigments, but I was curious about using it. One being everyone and their mom is like doing, home kitchen, tie-dye, right? With like what's in the kitchen. And I'm like, I want to take that and elevate it. I really want to see like what this alchemy is. I want to know about this art form and the science. So she brought back some saffron and turmeric for me. Saffron and indigo for me. And melted to me. And then I had these huge like gallon bags full of just yellowish, orange, saffron color and this intense blue indigo to work with. And I started playing around with like textiles and experimenting and researching and understanding, and fell in love with like the whole process. It's a process. And I think that was what I was ultimately missing in my art practice, which, as I said earlier, is like I'm always trying to like evolve and level up, right? Like I want it to be a fine art, and in that you gotta just continuously practice at it. So that's how I got into it, and from there it's been like 2.5 years almost, and I've been like.
Well, feels like it was like a week ago.
Yeah,
that time.
I know, right? Time flies by so fast. But I didn't want to just do like, what we know as of like tie dyeing or, mud cloth dyeing or Japanese dyeing of indigo. I didn't want to do those reliefs and things like that. I wanted to like find my own voice within it. And so that's the experimental part. Like I'm constantly trying different textiles, different colorways, combining different fixatives, and I'm playing mad scientist, and it's so much fun. Like I'm getting my hands dirty most of the time. My nails are like dyed with indigo and turmeric, and it's fun. I enjoy it. I feel like I'm tapping into like, ancestral work, something that, I needed to do. I feel like I needed to do this work. Yeah.
Such an interesting story of how you got started with the
I know.
Just got an RV, went around town.
Will take you.
Yeah. Ended up at a farm, and then someone was in Morocco, just happened to be there. It's pretty cool. Oh, this is a little random, but what the heck? What is a thrift? A vintage store? Is that kind of like a thrift store?
Yeah, it's like a elevated thrift store.
Elevated thrift store.
I
like
think so.
Fancier.
It's more
type?
curated, right? Like it doesn't. It's not necessarily like fancier, but it's clothing or antiques that have been taken care of versus like.
So it's not just clothes. It's like there could be like an old phone, like one of those ones that had the circle.
Oh,
on it, like
rotary phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those things. Always wanted
How
those.
old are you?
I'm 24.
Oh yeah. Yeah, rotary phone.
Always,
you didn't grow up with a rotary phone.
No, I did not. Never had one. It goes like.
Yeah.
I like it when it did
twisted
that.
Yeah.
I always wanted to have one, but I don't even have
They're
a
not
landline
fun,
anymore.
Because if you mess up the number, you gotta start all over. And once you get to that, last number, you're like. Ah.
I mean, I'm never gonna have a use for it now because I don't even have. Even my parents have landlines, but every time I've had my own place, I've never had a landline.
Yeah.
And they've become so obsolete.
Days.
Really?
Yeah, I miss those days where people had to like call me and be like, well, I was young.
Oh, yeah,
but call and be like, hey, is Jaleeca home? You know? Like, I miss that like unconnectedness. Like,
I mean, I hated having to do that. Calling my friend, I remember having to call my friend Spencer's mom and be like, "Is Spencer home?"
Yeah.
Hello, Miss Mazzilli. Have to mom be like, "Okay, this is what you do."
There's a formality. Yeah. We don't have that anymore. People just get right into it. I'm like, "Hello, how are you?" Like they just feel like they have access to you because they know that you have this phone that's always on you. Mm-hmm. And I miss the formality of having like just the formality of some of those ways, right? Like having to actually have a conversation before you ask for something,
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know.
Yeah. The worst was when someone said, "No, they're not home now."
Now
what? So they say bye.
Right.
Hang up now.
It's like,
I gotta talk to you for, and they're like, "Oh, how are you doing?"
Right.
Oh God. I'm 9 years old and doing okay.
I heard, and then you get into school. It's like back in the days, like parents knew what other parents' kids were up to too, so they'll ask you questions about that. Oh man. Good times.
Now they just look on Facebook what they're doing. Yeah,
and they don't ask questions.
Oh, they're like, oh, look.
So disconnected but connected at the same time.
Little Billy won a tennis tournament. Great.
Yeah, and like not actually talk to little Billy about it.
Yeah, I mean.
And that makes the kid feel special. It's like, oh, this.
And that's interesting.
Yeah.
No one, like, so if you're walking around with your parents and you're like, they already know.
They already know, so it's not like.
It's like, guess what Billy did last week? Nope, you don't get all excited.
Nope.
Wow.
I already saw it on Facebook. I already saw it on social media or whatever.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to bring that back if I ever have kids. Not tell anyone what's happening to them. People are gonna have to ask.
Yeah, make it a mystery. Like, why you gotta know everything?
They don't. I don't like people knowing stuff about me. But then there's also like I want people to know stuff about me.
Yeah, I think
about like. I have 2 posts on social media. One of them is of me that I won a grant, and then one's I went to Comic-Con, and then I've done I've done a bunch of stuff in between now and then, but it's like, I don't need to post this. Like, there's no point. Just hanging with the boys. Going over here.
There's some things like I think that it's nice to share. I come from the MySpace days where you just shared things. Like. It was a diary. It was like a window into your life, right? And I still kind of treat it that way. It's like, it's fun, I kind of use it more now as like a resource because there's like everything is on, at least for me, like the types of things I follow and my interests are all there curated to my liking on Instagram. I don't understand any of the other apps. No TikTok, no Twitter.
I like Tiki-Taki.
It all comes to Instagram anyway, so like.
True, it does. Takes a little while though. I like TikTok or Tiki-Taki as I call it because if I'm like I play a lot of video games with my friends, especially because they all live not here. Yeah. So, and like funny things happen on those games because they're all knuckleheads. Yeah. So there's like a nice button on the PlayStation where you can just click record that lasts a minute, and then I'll post it on there, and people are always. Like, I'm not going to post it on my regular Instagram page. Yeah. Just no one cares. But since it's so curated, people that watch video game stuff are going to see that video. And they always have something mean to say. They're always like, you're not that good compared to me. And And I'm like, well, I'm like, this is pretty, what I did was pretty good. Or usually something, if it's funny, people, usually nicer about it because I know it's a joke. But if like I like got a cool snipe or something, people were always like, "This was nothing compared to what I did."
Yeah.
And
That's the thing I don't like about is I kind of want it just to be a place of positivity, but there has to be balance. So right,
Yeah.
like
not everything can be all nice. People on Instagram and Twitter are some of the most hateful places. I mean, and Facebook. All those are some of the worst places I've ever seen. Ever. Something funny happened. DeMarcus got involved into it by mistake.
Oh no.
This woman, one of my friends, was someone posted this video of white woman getting sturdy in like 1960.
Okay.
And my friend Kyle commented like, "Wow, look at Stacy getting sturdy." Was not her name. Mm-hmm. And then the next person that commented was the woman's that was in the video's biggest fan. Like, she was actually famous. She was like, "How dare you disrespect him? You N-word, like, how dare you? It's like, you don't know who your parents are, who your dad is, like, sorry names, like, all this crazy stuff." And then so I was like, and then he sent me, he was like, "This lady is going insane because I disrespected." And then I said something to her. Mm-hmm. So me and all my friends were like, "This lady's a B word." So we all started like we started calling it Karen. Mm-hmm. That's what really sets them off. Yeah. And then she decided to screenshot some of the things I said and sent them to DeMarcus.
Oh no.
Yeah, it's like, "This is what, look at what your whatever did this, like, you were just on his podcast." I was like, "What the hell?" Oh my gosh. And then DeMarcus is like, "What's going on?" So they sent him the screenshots of what she said. He's like, "Oh." And then he was like, "Yeah, I knew she was crazy." Yeah. People. So
you just never know. People are looking for something just to do something. Like, I don't know. Everyone needs to find something that they love to do and just like do that and not focus their attention on anyone else.
It was definitely one of the more bizarre social media interactions I've ever had in my life. That was like a month and a half ago, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, that was bizarre. Recent. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, feels like it was just a month and a half ago, but it might have been longer. Whenever. I honestly don't remember anymore. Who knows? Time has gone crazy. Yeah. Just too much. It's going too fast, honestly. Feels like it needs to slow down so I can catch back up, but it's not going to. Just going to keep going faster. Okay, so I have a couple more questions. Okay. You mentioned that you had done a bunch of different mediums before. Mm-hmm. Is this one your favorite? The textile work and the alchemy? Or was one of them your first? Which one's your favorite?
My favorite medium, I don't necessarily have one per se, just because I do love mixed media art, and I always end up circling back to it. But I do love illustration work. I love pen and pencil, which I've definitely diverged from it intensely. But a lot of my like mark making is kind of like an ode back to like illustrative work in a sense. But yeah, I would say the natural pigments and botanical dyes is probably my favorite right now. But as I continue to learn like the different avenues and spaces that can take me, who knows what's next? I don't know. I'm open.
Think you might branch out into something else after this?
Oh yeah, I think so. I work in like series, so there's always like bodies of works that go together, and I think that I love the textile work. I'm not trying to be a textile artist, right? I want to be known as a multi-disciplinary artist, and sometimes when you do like the same types of works over and over and over again, oftentimes people want to keep having you come back for that type of work. And so I'm just trying to make sure I start, finally, going into a space of getting back into the mixed media world, so that, the work continues to build and others know that type of voice that I have too. But no, the textile work will always be there. And so my whole goal with this work and with the natural pigments and botanical dyes, the reason why I started with textiles is because that's the easiest way to get the pigments onto or immersed in, right? So like I try to approach it in a painterly way versus in a dyeing way. Now I might use like one step of dyeing in the process, but the rest of it might be painted on, or I made an ink out of the pigments, or I made a watercolor out of the pigments, or I've turned that into an oil painting or mixed media work, right? So that's the goal, is to just marry all of my mediums together into mixed media art.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time I look at one of the textiles, I always feel like you're painted like, doesn't even look like, from what we did in the workshop, it does not feel like this is what it should look like.
Right.
You know what I mean? This looks like a painting, so you went ahead and did. Although, when I was using the indigo bottle, I was like drawing to see what would happen.
Yeah. The design is kind of there, kind of.
Really?
Just a little bit.
I should have looked out there and saw it. I was like, oh,
well,
I hope.
It's all twisted up in the line.
I was like,
now,
I hope my thing's not out there right now. And
yeah.
Then go inside, and it's definitely out there right now.
It's definitely out there. All those works are changing right now, which is fine. You know, that's the fun part about it. Like, I've learned to like let go of control a little bit and let what happens. Like, I have the idea there, and then I approach it in like, maybe this is what the work wanted to be. And I just kind of dig into that a little bit more and define it.
Yeah, that is one thing I love about like painting and drawing and everything like that. In that realm of art is it's never going to be perfect, is what I realized.
No.
But everything, like the mistakes, not necessarily the mistakes, just the way it ends up always has like its own life of its own, like that thing. Right. In my head, that was not supposed to look like that. Right. But I really like the way it came out still.
Turned out great.
Yeah. And that's just with spray paint. And it's like a graffiti Moss house.
Okay. Sorry, not to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
But I will say, because you said graffiti, spray paint is probably one of my favorite mediums that I love to use and I don't use enough. Yeah.
That was the first time trying to actually make like art that in a studio with spray paint. I mean, I didn't do it in here. I did it outside because I knew it was...
Yeah, the fumes, right? It gets intense.
I almost did it in here. I was like, wait a second.
Maybe I should go outside with this.
Let me go outside and just not poison myself real quick. Yeah. Kind of like with the wampum. I'm almost forgetting that.
It's so funny because when the Friday that I got here, Miss Denise was having the beading workshop. And I sit down, I was like, I've never beaded in my life. And, you know, at the end, like, I felt like her teaching was so, like, on point to, like, towards the time I finished my first earring, I felt confident to, like, move on, right? Wow. So now I'm working on a choker, basically. All that to be said. I'm sitting diagonal from Miss Peggy, who we're talking about sassafras bark, right? And like talking through like what my practice is and everything. And she had mentioned I had messed up on one of the patterns for my earring, and she was just like, that's what makes it authentic when it's not perfect. And I was like, oh, that just rung a bell with me. And I just been holding on to that little gem, right? Like, and that's the immersion I'm talking about. Like, this is why I wanted to come to the residency. It's because I knew I was going to be part of a community that's already established here with makers and just real humans, you know, like who are just like, they don't even realize they got these gems and they just say it. And I'm like, yes, that's what I needed.
The people that come to all the workshops always, I usually sit back there when there's like a ton of people. Yeah. Or this area fills up. I'm like, well, I'm not going to make one of the poor people that come here to work and hang out, sit over there in the corner by themselves. Yeah. So, and I'll just listen to like what they're always talking about interesting things and say cool, like nice little gems. But you know how I was saying how my ears are bad? At your workshop, someone mentioned sassafras root. Yeah. And I heard I'm going to sacrifice you.
Oh,
and
no.
I was like, what did they just say?
What is going on?
Yeah,
What's this
like,
conversation?
Sacrifice you.
Yeah.
I was like, no, you're a satanic country. I said sassafras root. And
Yeah.
I was like,
No.
This is not my fault. I just can't hear. This is why the other languages are hard. It's not my fault.
No, it's okay.
But they do sound very similar. Sassafras root and sacrifice you.
Yeah.
Pretty close. I mean, not really that close, but my brain just, for somehow context, thought that was the right word.
But no, I ended up getting the sassafras bark from her the other day. So I've been trying to cook up a dye from that. Been unsuccessful so far, but that's the fun part. Playing around with it. It was nice to just like take my knife and hack away at the bark and try to get some bark off of it.
Is that some of it over there?
Yeah, that's some of it over there. So she gave me a wet piece of bark, sassafras bark, and then a dry piece. And I started working off of the wet sassafras bark. And I let it steep in some soda ash water, boiled down soda ash water last night. And I got this beautiful, like, opaque yellow color. It's behind the jar that has the white in it, or the clear water.
I see it over there.
And so now I'm just using that as a mixative for my other dyes. So being like, oh, I have turmeric, and since it has a yellow tint to it, I'm going to use the sassafras and turmeric combination to make a watercolor now. So the piece that you see behind me is like me playing around with like mixing sassafras as like a gesso base, and then working on that on top of that, and using like aluminum water, and then letting that dry a little bit, and then layer.
Have you ever drank any of the stuff you've made by mistake? And you say, oh, let me grab some water. The aluminum water, or the sassafras root.
I almost have a few times, yeah. When it gets chaotic, now I've like done better in my studio practice of like actually keeping one cup that's for water, like my drinking water, and then having everything else be like, this jar is for this, and having it labeled. And I'd be like, oh, that texture's weird. Like, that's not what I'm supposed to be.
It's not supposed to be drinking, yeah.
Drinking. But I have tried some of my dyes as like an actual teas or whatever. Like the sassafras, you can make a tea out of that, right? You can make root beer out of sassafras bark, right?
Really?
Yeah. So I'm thinking about maybe making a root beer hibiscus sassafras drink one day from like the bark that I already have.
I feel like when you take the first sip of that, you're never going to want to take another sip again because of how bad that I would imagine that's going to taste.
No, it might be actually really delicious. I love hibiscus tea. So it basically just be a play on like hibiscus tea, but root beered somehow. I don't know.
No, I'm not a big fan of tea. It's probably why I think it's going to taste horrible.
Yeah. But I use hibiscus a lot in my dye work. So I've made some of my pigments come from tea stores, you know, like I can go to a tea store and get some of my, I like the hibiscus and other materials, or like herbal shops and stuff, like for the turmeric and all that.
Yeah, I guess you can basically dye with anything.
Yeah.
Well, anything that's natural. Mostly. But
for the most part, like cabbage, purple cabbage, more so, beets, all that. I try to stay away from things like that so much, just because like I'm trying to figure out like what the shelf life is for some of this stuff. Because I want to keep it for some time. Like if I make it, I don't want it to like mold or, you know,
that'd be a problem.
Expire on me. So I'm always trying to choose natural pigments or forage for pigments that allow me to have a good shelf life, at least for a week if I can, or longer. And even with the dye baths, I make the large dye baths. I'm trying to keep that for a few days if possible.
Yeah, I guess it would be annoying to have to keep making them over and over and over again.
I mean, I do have to, but that's the fun part. It's a labor intensive. It's like a process oriented work. Like you're always on. Like once you start, that's when it happens. Like there's a routine to this work. but then you can go like outside the lines too, which is always fun too. Like once you get the routine part of it down, or get through the process, then the fun happens. But it's still fun cooking up whatever I'm cooking up, right? Like I feel like a chef and an artist, and chefs are artists too, but like I feel like a chef at the same time, which got me into like enjoying cooking more again, so
cooking is definitely alchemy.
Yeah. It is. I like to tap into like all the senses, and for me this taps into all my senses for the most part.
Yeah, that is a good way to tap into all your senses.
Yeah,
the smell, the taste. I guess maybe not the taste all the time.
Sometimes depends. Yeah,
you just stick your finger. Needs more pine cones.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, sometimes it always does need something more.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have. Let's see. There's 3 more.
Okay.
Things before the podcast is over. First question is, what do you think is the most important character trait or personality trait for someone to be a good artist? It's a hard one.
I always say be eco over ego. Let down your ego a little bit, like we're all just trying to express ourselves, like when you have a big ego, I don't think it really will take you too far. Well, it can, we've seen people with big egos and it happens for them, right? But for me, I think it's just like, I'm not saying be humble, right? Because there's a certain amount of humbleness that won't take you far, right? Like you still gotta be confident, right? But don't let overconfidence ruin an experience for someone else to enjoy your work, but also for you to enjoy your work. So like let down your ego, become more eco. And when I say eco, like part of the community, part of the whole, right? And knowing, you not have to cater to the whole, but be just one with that innocence, right? Like constantly know that you're serving someone, or someone's going to want to be within that space that you have, or want to be around your art, or want to understand it. And I think when you approach your practice, and even like in the world when you're presenting, it's nice to approach it in a more communal mindset versus like I am, it's like, yeah, you are, but
you're going to be annoying
there's
about
more. Yeah. There's other important things, like, yeah. So just let down ego and just, be eco.
That's a good one. That's a good one. All right. So I did come up with our draft for today.
Okay.
But we're going to do a little backstory on it just so it makes sense. So,
okay.
I guess I'll explain the game first. So we get 5 picks.
Okay.
And you get the first pick. The guest always gets first pick. And then we go back and forth. So you pick something, and I pick something.
Okay.
Until we both have 5.
I need to write this.
I mean, you don't
I'll
have to.
let you write. Yeah.
Well, I was going to let you write on your paper.
Okay.
Don't want to mess them up, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And so today's draft is, so we both have our own cauldron. Like, a steel cauldron, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And we are going to do some alchemy.
Gotcha.
So we get to pick 5 ingredients to create. We don't know what we're going to make yet, but we pick 5 ingredients that are found in the world. And we're going to see what they create.
Can you see my picks?
Yeah. You're going to announce your pick to the crowd we have over here.
Okay,
the audience.
Okay. Hello, audience.
Yes. So with the first pick of the first draft of 2023.
Okay.
The alchemy draft. What is your first ingredient? And this, so it's over. We both have our own little fire.
Okay.
It's on top. It's a wood charcoal.
Okay.
Actually, no. Let's make it a wood fire.
Yeah.
Wood fire.
So we got 10 to it.
And
okay.
Just all there is at the bottom right now is a little bit of water. Yeah, we got some water in there. Nice water. This is the Himalaya mountains.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And someone went there with a cup, and it dripped off the mountain, and they captured it in 2 cups worth, brought it to us just for this day. So.
All right.
they're a very old wizard who got there. They're not actually a wizard, but they think they are. So, and they had the beard.
Okay. All right. So my number one pick, I need to tell you now.
Yeah.
Indigo.
Indigo?
Yeah.
Okay. You write it? No.
Okay.
Write it down so don't lose it. Let's see. And you could be anything. Anything in the world. Any ingredient.
Okay.
I am going to pick... let's see. I want liquid gold in there.
Ooh.
They're a little liquid gold. It's already melted down. That's my first pick.
Nice. I think my second pick. My second pick is going to be. Gold leaf.
Goat leaf?
Gold leaf.
Oh, gold leaf.
Yeah.
That sounds like a nice pick.
I'm inspired by your liquid gold.
Liquid
actually.
gold?
Yeah.
Okay. And remember, it can be anything in the whole world.
I'm building up.
Okay. And the second will be a vial of let's see. Vial of uranium.
Oh wow.
Mix them all together. Mix them in there.
Yeah. All right. I think
it's a powerful potion I'm creating here.
I think my third is going to be lemongrass.
Oh. That's a good one.
Thank you.
Let's see. For my third pick, I will go and steal some of the kelp from the kelp farmers and throw it in. So some nice kelp.
That's funny.
The $10,000 kelp is so expensive to farm it.
Oh man. Yeah, I was gonna go to the sea too. I'm going to take pink sand from wherever pink sand is. I know there's some you can find some pink sand in the Caribbean. So I'm taking that.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
It's a good one. Let's see. I think I had to have something. So the liquid gold and the uranium definitely mix in to make something crazy. But then the kelp kind of brings it back, kind of grounds it. Let's see. I think I'm going to need the blood of a horseshoe crab.
Oh man. You're making sacrifices.
No, I'm just taking a little bit. Don't need it all.
My goodness.
I don't need that much of the horseshoe crab blood. Just need a little bit. I said you could have anything.
Yeah, you said anything.
You can have the.
I see mine coming together in my cauldron. So.
Yeah, it's bubbling now.
Yeah.
My cauldron's definitely bubbling. The uranium and the horseshoe crab blood are creating a new substance never before seen to mankind.
Right? I think
this is your last pick.
This is my last pick. I'm gonna say stardust.
From the universe?
From the universe.
Oh, that's a good one. Let's see. For my final pick, I will take Donald Trump's toupee. Throw it in there.
Nice. That's funny.
I thought that would really by throwing it in, you know how sometimes in the cartoons
you
to be
yeah.
That's gonna make the puff whatever.
Sometimes a little bit of evil.
Yeah. A little bit
can help. You know?
The kelp
save the world. No, I'm joking.
The kelp and the toupee are really gonna bounce off each other.
Yeah.
And cancel each other out kind of. So what did you make?
I think I made a magical potion of enlightenment.
Of enlightenment? What were your picks again?
Indigo, gold leaf, lemongrass, pink sand, and stardust from the universe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that happening. Yeah,
right?
an enlightenment potion.
Yeah.
So what happens when you drink it? You just become enlightened, or do you have like a horrible couple minutes and then you don't like fall to the ground for a little bit if you survive?
It's pure bliss from the start.
Oh.
It smells amazing because of lemongrass, right? The pink sand.
It's a little coarse.
It's a little coarse, but it's worth it, right? Because the stardust like helps balance it out a little bit.
Yes.
Right? Because stardust has a lot of energy. So like it's probably melted the sand down. So now we're just getting this like pink essence.
Is it warm when you drink
around. Oh yeah, it's definitely
served warm.
Okay. Yeah. You gotta drink it right out the cauldron.
Oh.
You gotta use the ladle.
I see.
Put it into your nice little still glass and drink it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right. So
it's like a Moscow Mule.
A Moscow Mule drink.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Honestly, but warmed up.
So it's like a hot toddy meets a Moscow Mule.
Mm-hmm. That's my sister's favorite drink.
Yeah.
Nice. But she only likes it when it's in the copper cup.
Ah.
She thinks it's a cop out if you don't have the copper cup.
No, you gotta have the copper cup.
Yeah, it's just not the same without it. Let's see. So my picks were liquid gold, uranium, kelp, blood of a horseshoe crab, and Donald Trump's toupee. And honestly, I mean, I had to put a little thought into what this
what is
really
that?
creates.
Do you drink this, or is it like a topical type thing? Like
there's a couple ways to do it.
Yeah.
You can drink it. You can inject it. Just drink. It tastes really bad because of the uranium and the toupee. Yeah, it tastes really bad. But the effects are worth it. First of all, they make you turn a little green. You glow. You turn up the lights and you glow a little bit.
Glow in the dark.
You don't die.
All right.
You can breathe underwater. Lights, yeah. You can breathe underwater for like 6 minutes because of the kelp. If you inject it only though, because then it will go into your. One of the side effects, though, of the horseshoe crab blood, you get one gill on your neck. That's why you can breathe underwater for so long.
Okay.
And if you train, so you can do 5 minutes with no training right out the gate. But if you train a little bit, train your new gill, it'd be indefinite amount of time under there, the horseshoe crab. And your skin feels still the same to the touch, but since the horseshoe crab is like you can pretty strong.
Yeah.
And with that and the uranium, your skin and the gold, now you can block bullets.
Nice.
But you have to know where it's gonna hit you. So if you get someone from behind shoots you, it will go right through you. But you can harden your skin at will.
Okay.
And then the kelp just for nutrients.
Got you. Because that's a lot to digest.
It is a lot. Yeah, you gotta have some. The liquid gold is really just for show, honestly.
Yeah.
Because that's the selling point.
Yeah.
No one wants to just drink uranium.
No.
But the liquid gold.
No, it goes a long way. People are gonna want that.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's convincing.
And so I guess that would be a potion. This is just going to be called the potion.
Nice.
No one's going to know.
The ultimate potion.
No one knows what's going to happen. Really what happens. Because no one has wanted to drink it yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. I drink it. But just a little bit. Because I don't want to taste it toupee.
No.
Yeah. Well.
Okay.
It's near the end. I only have one more question left.
All right.
Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, what do you want Ma's house to accomplish within the next year, I guess?
Accomplish? Let's see. I would like us to, I guess since the Ma's House podcast, we're kind of part of it. I'd like us, the Ma's House podcast people, and the producer. The producer is kind of lame, so they've been slacking. So hopefully they can get 30. No, 30 is a lot. 26 episodes done one year. Happy. That's the goal for them.
Yeah.
And then for the rest of the place, nice workshops, and all the workshops are nice. Actually, honestly, the workshops don't need anything new. They're always just good. They constantly accomplish that goal. Let's see. I would like us to have more people, get more people in. Just from the community, even just off Shinnecock.
Yeah.
They come down to workshops and see the great work that Brianna and Jeremy do upstairs and all the exhibits. It's hard to get. Sometimes it's hard to get even people from here to come on by. But even the surrounding area, Southampton, I would like them to come on by. Maybe buy stuff. I want people to buy stuff more.
Yeah. Pour some more money into it.
Just so, especially for the artists that leave stuff here.
Yeah.
I would more eyes that people get on their stuff. I hope more sales their stuff, because then they get some money. We get some money to do more cool stuff. Yeah, that's what I would like. That's what I would like this place to accomplish next year.
Nice.
Maybe a $10 million donation from somebody. That would also be nice. Yeah.
Give us the money.
Yeah,
or give them the money. I mean, I would love a $10 million donation too, but like,
I'd be able to do a little soundproof. Maybe build an extra. You guys never seen the studio before. Sometimes things go awry down here.
Yeah, you want to paint the picture for them?
Yeah. Okay. So, there's lots of tools everywhere. Sharp objects. It's a little dangerous. We're at a table. This table is kind of the safe. This is the safe zone. If you leave the table, you're no longer in a safe area. There's the washing machine over there, about 15 feet to the right. A dryer, more tools, a bunch of chairs. The lights sometimes go off randomly because it's they're motion censored, which
there's plenty of times where they've gone off on me.
Yeah. Which is scary, especially sometimes it's cute, like it's perfect. Like someone's telling like a scary ghost story and then it's gone.
Yeah.
A bunch of art though, nice art. All this lighting equipment and stuff, which I need to familiarize myself more with. Oh my god, I never really like looked around in here. Like a million frames, like a million and a half maybe.
Yeah.
I don't know where we got all those. A coat behind me. Oh, we have a slop sink, which is new addition. Very nice.
I use it a lot.
Some leaves hanging, some flowers, some fake flowers. Yeah. You know, overall, it's a pretty nice studio, this area. But,
I mean, most of my days during the residency are down here, so.
It's nice to curate stuff in here, because everything is just, there's plenty of space. But for recording things, the sounds. I think there's also chickens out there from the window we could see.
Yep.
I was worried that maybe one day they'll start like barking while I'm recording. And then anyone who walks down here will make noise for they'll get picked up.
Yeah.
So that's what I'll do with $10 million. I get one of those sheds, deck it out with soundproofing, and then it'd be like you can just go in there.
Nice.
Do recordings and stuff.
Nice.
It's a dream.
Studio, an actual podcast recording studio.
Little area.
Nice.
And it's comfortable.
Yeah.
Nice. And I'd have 4 places like these things. In case we have extra people or anyone ever wants to sit in. Then I'd hire an actual someone to like do this part of the podcast, all this stuff, and then kind of like that TV. Have the TV come down, be able to show stuff, like do a deep dive on Instagram, and be like, "What the heck are you doing here?" And be able to look,
investigate,
and then have like a camera. Yeah. And then I pocket the rest of the money. But
you reinvest it into yourself.
Yeah. And I reinvest the rest of it into Hunter Begun Productions.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah, exactly. Well, near the end, but at the end I always like to have our guest. You can plug anything you want, your social medias, your friends' stores, anything you want people to know about. You can. Now's your time.
Cool. Yeah. Well, thanks for having me.
Of course.
On the podcast. It's always an honor to talk about my practice and, all that good stuff. And it's been an absolute pleasure to be here at Ma's house and during the residency, create some works of art. Thanks for listening. I'm Jaleeca Yancy, and you can find me on Instagram at JRY Designs or JRY_Designs. And check me out. I got things coming out soon. Things just sitting by the wayside for right now, but art is always happening. So tune in.
No website?
It's just JRYDesigns.net.
.net. Oh, that's cool.
.net. .com was too expensive.
.com's too expensive, yeah. Let's see. What was I going to say? Oh, yeah. So there's going to be a couple of videos coming out about your work and the workshops.
Yeah.
So be on the lookout for those to see how the textile work is done. It's pretty cool. Huge turnout at the workshop. You weren't there. You missed out. And it's never going to happen again. So you're just going to have to watch the video.
At least with this
and be
artist.
jealous.
Yeah.
You're going to be like, oh, no, I missed it. I'd love to do that. Thank you so much for being on the podcast. It was fun as
Thank you.
It usually is. I haven't had anyone. I've never had that fun.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Nice. Thanks.
Yeah. No, yeah.
I'm honored.
All right. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll catch you guys next time.